Nostalgia. A sentimental longing or wistful affection for a period in the past. That is the word's current definition. But originally, it meant something a little different. Nostalgia was first coined in the late 1600s by psychologist Johannes Hofer, but not to describe a sentimental feeling. Nostalgia originally was a mental illness that held a person in distress and caused them to think illogically. Nostalgia creates a view of the past that isn't true. It ignores the flaws and pains that exist with any period to focus on the pleasures and positive feelings that might have been present. Sometimes it even creates positive feelings that never existed in the first place. Today, nostalgia is having a damning effect on emerging democracies. Many look to the past, to dictators, and feel nostalgic for their rule. If you peruse left-wing Twitter, you'll find endless nostalgia for Muammar Gaddafi, Saddam Hussein, or even Joseph Stalin. Look at the right and you might find praise of Augusto Pinochet or Ferdinand Marcos. People believe that because things may be bad now, they must have been good before. This phenomenon, known as authoritarian nostalgia, isn't just irritating, it can threaten democracy itself. Before we get into the video, I'd like to thank this video's sponsor, AtlasVPN, who are running an 82% discount on a 3-year premium subscription with a full 30-day money-back guarantee using the unique link in the description. With AtlasVPN, you can browse the web and not have to worry about having your data monitored without your consent or having your IP tracked. AtlasVPN also allows you to connect your device to loads of different IPs around the world, letting you bypass arbitrary region-specific content. Want to see what German Netflix has to offer, or Japanese Prime Video? Then you can do so with AtlasVPN. These are just some of the things you can do with AtlasVPN. I haven't even talked about the fact that it can save you money and protect against malicious ads and malware. AtlasVPN is the best VPN on the market, and the one that I've been personally using. If you want to protect your online privacy, access region-specific content, or protect your device against malware, go to get.atlasvpn.com/emptywrite to take advantage of that 82% discount off a 3-year subscription. That's $199 a month. And if you aren't satisfied for whatever reason, AtlasVPN offers a full 30-day money-back guarantee. Thanks again to AtlasVPN for sponsoring this video. Ads like this help support what I do and give me the freedom to create what I want. Check out the deal in the description below. And now, back to the video. In 1961, an ambitious military general called Park Chung-hee launched a coup against the South Korean government, becoming its leader. Under General Park, South Korea experienced a period of modernization, economic development, and saw its low living standards raised. Park's government laid the foundation for South Korea to experience an economic miracle. Even today, over a third of South Korean citizens regard Park's government as the best in their country's history, as successive governments provided only inefficiency and corruption. In 1965, Ferdinand Marcos became leader of the Philippines. Under President Marcos, the Philippines experienced the growth of its middle class, but most of all, the country was stable under his strong leadership. After his toppling, the Philippines would never recover. Lawlessness and instability became the norm in several areas of the country. In 1969, the corrupt King Idris of Libya was overthrown in a bloodless coup and replaced by the charismatic Muammar Gaddafi. To say that Gaddafi's reign brought economic prosperity would be an understatement. Libya turned from a backwards, exploited nation into a modernized economic powerhouse that possessed the highest human development index in all of Africa. Gaddafi gave his people prosperity, and after him came only chaos and bloodshed. All of this is true. These dictators provided stability for many of their citizens, and some gave economic wealth. This, when life becomes difficult, is what gives people nostalgia. Nostalgia that blinds them to the injustices that were committed. Park Chung-hee brought modernity to South Korea and laid its foundation of becoming one of the world's top economies. But, more importantly, he presided over a brutal military regime that often interned, tortured, and killed political rivals. Those who believed in democracy and wished to express themselves were brutalized, systematically and without mercy. Protesters were quashed with excessive force. and thousands were murdered. Park's rule was so brutal, it caused his eventual assassination. Ferdinand Marcos gave the Philippines stability and peace, but only if you kept your mouth shut. Opponents, no matter how mild, were arrested, tortured, and disappeared. The Marcos regime also created a level of corruption unrivaled in all of human history, stealing hundreds of millions from the poorest in society in order to enrich himself and his family. Gaddafi turned Libya from a backwards monarchy into an economic powerhouse. But he also ruled a totalitarian police state which committed some of the most heinous human rights violations imaginable. The economic wealth he created was also funneled into terrorist organizations all over the globe, resulting in the deaths of thousands. His opponents, suffering in Libya, couldn't even seek refuge abroad, as his intelligence services carried out a campaign of assassination against dissidents all over the world. His regime was so inhumane that the Libyan people rose up in rebellion to oust him. So if these regimes are so heinous and inhumane, why do people today still idolize them and long for them? Well, the reasons vary from country to country. In South Korea, many who idolize Park's government are those who hold economic development as more important than democracy. Older people too, who remember life under Park, tend to prefer it over the disorder of democracy. In the Philippines, citizens are more ambivalent of democracy. They claim that they support it, but also that their freedom should have strict limits. And in Libya, it simply comes down to the fact that people prefer stability with repression than freedom with war. Although the reasons vary, there is a common thread. People tend to want one thing: order. Nobody wants chaos, and dictators do prevent that. But also, it comes down to human nature. People are very seldom satisfied with the current reality of their lives. Under a dictator, the people will long for democracy. Under democracy, many will long for order. Authoritarian nostalgia thus exists primarily in those countries which democratized later, in the late 20th century, where people still remember what order was like. The effects of this phenomenon are dangerous, and can be felt even more every day. South Korea, since Park, has democratized, but hesitantly and slowly, and nostalgia for the Park era has caused the election of conservative strongmen. The Philippines slid back some time ago when the dictator in all but name, Rodrigo Duterte, was elected, presiding over a regime that cracked down on opposition, curtailed freedom, and used violence to achieve its goals. The country continues to slide with the election of their previous dictator's very own son, Ferdinand Marcos Jr. And this is the story for many countries around the world. In Libya, Tunisia, Russia, Turkey, and so on. The only protection against it is telling the truth. The truth about the suffering which dictatorship brings. The truth that the past is not worth longing for and that freedom is worth pursuing, no matter how much it damages order. Nostalgia is a mental illness, and truth is the cure. Thank you for watching. If you liked what you saw, consider liking and subscribing. Thanks again to AtlasVPN for sponsoring this video. The link to that great deal is in the description below. This video was also brought to you by the beautiful people over on Patreon. Special shout out to my tier 4 patron, Joshua Rawle. If you'd like your name at the end of one of my videos, consider supporting over on Patreon. The link is in the description below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.